The review you were about to see that was posted earlier this year was taken back down at the request of the retailer, but the retailer has done nothing to correct the issues and just lowered the price of this scope by $20 and continued selling it, so this review is going back up to protect you, the viewer. And also, as everybody knows, YouTube has drastically castrated our ads earning revenues on gun and air gun videos, and it's almost impossible to sustain just off the ad revenues right now, and I can't afford to continue to fund them out of my own pocket because I'm also paying for cancer. So I have put links in the description box below to direct you to my new website, and also to a PayPal link where you, the viewer, can make some contributions to kind of compensate a little bit for what we've lost in ad revenue and to keep these new air reviews coming. So if you want to continue to see new air gun reviews, please click on either the PayPal link below or onto my website where you get a little more information. And now let's get to the review. Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Cormandy from the Airgun channel, My Airgun Reviews, and today we are looking at a scope from OTW. This is a 4-16 power by 50 millimeter non-adjustable objective rifle scope. It has mil-dot illuminated reticle. It's illuminated in red and green. It comes with a laser and a 1x22x33 millimeter reflex sight. So it's a 3-in-1. Has got the same reticle as the CV Life Rifle scope that I reviewed. Let's take a quick look at that reticle. This is on red. It gets brighter. And here is on green. Okay, now this laser is, I've got it mounted firmly now, but this laser is an absolute waste. It's got very bad mounts. You can just barely get it over the weaver mount. It does not have any cross bolts that go through the weaver sections. Like there should be a cross bolt that goes in to lock it in place, and there is none. And it just kind of sets down on the top of it. This part wiggles an awful lot, and you can't keep it steady. I came up with the shim. I just used 4 very thin pieces of chrome tape and just kind of layered them, and that got it fairly stable. Here, let me show you how I did that. Okay, right here you can see how I've used that chrome tape to shim that to make it tight. That's pretty bad that you got to do something like that. Okay, now this thing comes with a fixed weaver mount, so this scope will not fit on a Hudson rifle because they have the dovetail weaver mount. The weaver mount on a Hudson is not like this. They're not evenly spaced, and they just don't line up with these two mounts or anything like that, so it's really kind of a waste. You've got to use either a dovetail or weaver Picatinny riser mount. You can get them as low as, I think I've seen them as low as 0.39 inches, so that's not too bad. I didn't have one, so I used this UTG droop compensator, which goes on the Hudson dovetail mount, and then mounted the scope to this. It sat a little bit high, but it was workable. I shot about 45 shots through it, and then I had a problem with the gun cocking. Turns out the rear adjusting screw came loose, was all that was. But after that I took it off and I put it on this Ruger Silent Hawk that I just rebuilt, and decided to go from there. Now everything worked real good when it was on the hot sun, but then when I put it on this, I started to run out of left windage adjustment, and on a 12-yard test I was able to get it maybe to shoot about a ½ inch left to center, and when I went out to the 20-yard accuracy test, it was actually started shooting about 2 inches left, so I adjusted it back. So I had a little leeway there. I'm not sure why it wouldn't adjust to the left on this gun. I had no such problem on the hot sun. I was going to mount it on a Benjamin and see if I had the same problem there, but I decided it wasn't worthwhile because this is not a scope that I'm going to recommend. The Reflex sight is really a CV Life, or it's manufactured by the same company that makes the CV Life Reflex sight, which I reviewed and I thought worked excellent. I was really surprised at the accuracy I got with it, and this one was no different. It has illuminated reflex reticle in 4 different patterns, both red and green, with bright and dim settings, and it just worked absolutely fantastic. Why don't we just take a close-up look at this scope. There you can see that very odd front design. I'll get back to that in a little bit. And here is your laser. You have windage and elevation adjustments, and like I said, it's got a permanent Weaver mount, and you've got the Weaver rail here, and here is your power adjustment. It goes from 4 to 16 power, and your eye relief. And this is your reticle illumination, and under this cap is a CR2032 battery, lithium ion button battery. Okay, and here is your different reticles on the Reflex sight. That moves it's starting to loosen up a little now. Here's your elevation adjustment. If you just turn it, it doesn't, now I can feel it actually turning for some reason. Normally it won't, and you got to press down on it. And here is your elevation and windage. Now this is just going freely. It's not really moving it. You got to push in hard and feel for the clicks. And here is a spare Weaver Picatinny mount. You can mount like a flashlight on there, and then you got all the bells and whistles on this scope. Okay, why don't I show you what the Reflex sight looks like looking through the camera. It's the red dot. That is the dot in the circle. Dot in the crosshairs. And there is the dot in the circle in the crosshairs. Green on dim. Okay, I'm not going to do the indoor 20-yard test using the scope because the scope really does not work well in close-up. At 12 yards, I was getting a slightly fuzzy reticle and slightly fuzzy sight objective. I could get, one clear and the other one to go fuzzy, and I get the reticle clear and the objective was fuzzy. And I just kind of found a happy medium in there where they were both just a little fuzzy. Not bad, it was usable. But I'm going to save the scope target shoot at 20 yards for later. Right now I'm going to show you the 12-yard accuracy test using the Reflex sight. Okay, this is my first shot. I adjusted the Reflex sight, and this is a 5-shot group at 12 yards using this 1-power Reflex sight. I just adjusted a little more to the right, and now we're going to try 5 more shots and see how we do. Okay, now I'm going to show you 12 yards using the laser sight. I'll have to review the film and see how I did there where the pellet hit versus the dot. I adjusted the laser, and then now 5 shots. Seems to work okay up to 12 yards. Okay, now let's go outside and do the 20-yard accuracy test using the scope. And at 20 yards I could only get a clear reticle and sight objective at 4 power. At 5 power it was still kind of clear, and at 6.5 to 7 power I had just a little bit of fuzz on the reticle and on the sight objective. So that's about where I was doing the target shooting. At 30 yards on out, the scope works perfect. You can go all the way up to 16 power, have a clear reticle, clear sight objective. So if you're going to use this scope, you know, at 30 yards and beyond, it's just fine, because you use the scope, you know, for 30 yards on out. You use the reflex sight at 10 to 20 yards, and I would say probably no more than 15 yards with this laser. I would suggest just junking this laser and putting a good one on it, and mounting a good lamp on the right side, and then you've got all the bells and whistles on this thing. So let's take a look at the 20-yard accuracy test. Okay, now we're going to do the 20 yards with the laser, and it was really difficult. It was a sunny day, the gun was in the sun, the target was in the shade, and it looked to me through the scope that the laser spread out oblong about 1.5 inches or more. The laser was really a waste at 20 yards, but and it looked like it started out right on target, and then the scope or the laser started dropping, and you know, with the laser right on the target, start shooting high and right. So at 20 yards it was not holding center. All in all, for $95.99, it's a very unique setup. It's very odd up here. These edges are very sharp, and you know, with a pellet rifle you're constantly breaking it open, putting pellets in right here very close, and if you nick this, it hurts. They're sharp. If this was a car, I would call it pedestrian's terror. But fortunately, it does come with protective lens caps, so you can cover the front. If you mounted this thing on a M16 or AR-15 or some assault rifle like that that's got a weaver up front, you could use this thing as a bayonet. literally. Yeah, it's that sharp. But this scope is actually designed for that kind of weapon. It, you know, like I say, you use the scope for 30 yards on out. Closer in, you use your reflex sight, and you can also have a laser on it for closer in. And I like all the toys. The reflex sight works real good. The scope works good at 30 yards on out. I really didn't try it at 25 yards, but you know, at 20 yards, it's a little bit of a waste. It's not very good at 20 yards, but 35 yards on out, not a problem. But I still have issues with the elevation and windage adjustments. You can't just turn them and click. You gotta sit there and feel if they're clicking or not, because if you're turning and don't hear or feel the click, you're not doing any adjustment. And sometimes it just stops and you gotta back up a little bit and then go again, then you can adjust it further. So your elevation and windage adjustments are not good, and it's not configured quite right for, say, a 20-yard shooting or 15-yard shooting. You've got to be at least 20 yards to use the scope and everything clear, but you really don't have a lot of magnification. You got to get that 30-yard mark and out. But, you know, like I say, if you need all these toys and you're going to be using the scope for 30 yards and farther, yeah, it would be an okay scope. You're not going to get all of these toys for, you know, less money, that's for certain. But, you know, for the average shooter, I think it's a waste of money. I think you can buy a good scope and a couple of mounts to go on the scope for mounting your accessories, or you can get an accessory mount and put it on the gun and mount all your toys. I think that would be a better way to go. But like I say, I'm not going to pay $95, $99 for this particular scope. It just does not work good enough. The laser is throwaway. It works excellent. I can't say enough good about that. It's the same as the CV Life, which I really enjoyed reviewing. And that unique that also comes on a CV Life scope. This one, you can't clear it up close in. The scope, a thumbs down. I just don't think it's worth playing with. It's got too many quirks. But like I say, if you want all these toys and you've only got $100 and you're going to be shooting at 30 yards and farther using the scope and using the reflex sight and the laser for closer in, yeah, you're getting a lot for the money. But you know, for the average 20-25 yard shooter, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry with it. I wouldn't play with it. But anyway, that's my review of the OTW 4 to 16 by 50 millimeter 3-in-1 scope. My name is Kenny Cormandy, and thank you for watching.